talk briefly about part numbers. It's not the most thrilling subject, but it can make a big difference to the workload for these guys here. So what does a part numbering system have to do? It has to uniquely identify an item approved for a specific application. In other words, you have to be able to pick the right part out of a bag or off of a shelf. It has to be accurate, consistent, unambiguous, and identification over the entire part life cycle. So different version numbers, revs, manufacturers, it has to be consistent. We don't want to care if you've bought your part from DigiKey or Mouser or RS online. We don't want to even know that. But if you insist on using the manufacturer's part number, we're going to have to know. So this is a golden rule that is often broken when you're talking about a complete PCB. We were talking about the 8020. You've put it out there. You've called your board E102750. That's your part number. But it comes back from the field and you go, oh, I need to change that that resistor from a half watt to a 1 watt wire wound. So you do that. It's a completely different part. And if you replace a new board with an old board, it'll blow up. So why would you keep the same part number for that board? You've got to change it. If it's form, fit, or function, those are the three key things where you change the part number. Otherwise, there's hell to pay down the road. And that can be down to an individual item. Let's say you changed an SO8 to an SO16. It's not going to fit on the board, so don't use the same part number. So you've got to bear that in mind. Form, fit, and function, change the part number. So there we've got that. In the case of a simple change of manufacturer, it would be pretty burdensome to require a change from BOM and CAD data simply because they could get a better price. So if you're using the manufacturer's number, which is the temptation, because DigiKey have done the work for you, you go, well, I'll just call it that. But then Mouser is cheaper one week, and you buy it from Mouser, and now it's not the same part. It could have different length legs, it could have different thickness. It makes all the difference. So a good part number design allows to meet design requirements by clearly distinguishing one part from another when the difference is meaningful. Okay, so different body, different function, different part. So rules for a good part numbering system: it mustn't impose any constraints and must consider human factors. So high volume users, where you've got, I've got customers in China where the number of part numbers they're dealing with are up in the 70 and 80,000 part numbers. So they're manipulating a lot of numbers over there. So you've got document control people in another office. They're not necessarily you, the guy that invented it. Purchasing. Don't talk to me about purchasing people. They really don't understand anything but price. So they'll just buy the part from whomsoever. And if the manufacturer tells them it's the same, they'll buy it anyway. Warehouse clerks, purchasing agents, production supervisors, and the guys in the field, the guys who are fixing this stuff, need to know what part number to order. Part number lengths. The Europlacer downstairs can take 32 digits. If you've got 32 digits and you've only changed a few in the middle, then the likelihood is you'll get a problem with that. So there's been a lot of study of this actually around manufacturers of the bigger players, the Rolls-Royces, British Aerospaces of this world. Medical and military people are very hot on this because they can't afford a mistake. So they should be the same length. Varying lengths make it difficult to know whether you've got the whole number or not. You know what it's like when you photocopy something or scan something, and it's right near the edge of the paper, and you don't know whether you've got the last digit or not. Whereas if you know all your part numbers are 7 characters long, or 8 or 9 within reason, you know you've got the whole thing. So it's silly little things like that that you don't think about when you're busy making the thing work. But when you start moving into this environment, when you're wanting stuff made, it makes a big difference, and it's something to be thought about at the beginning. Because if you start producing stuff like that and Gearbox is having trouble with it, or China, and you've already got 300 parts with serial numbers, you're not going to want to go back and fix those, because all your internal purchasing systems are already in place. So the damage is done. So although it's such a minor thing of a design, but getting it working is the number one, but probably number two is getting your paperwork right. So start the way you intend to go on with thinking about the part number. You can still give, for the bigger players, this is that maybe have different allocations as to whether it's a complete PCB or whether it's an individual part. You can still put a format on the beginning as long as you're consistent with that and it doesn't take up too much room. So any scheme longer than 7 characters requires most users to write it down. And trust me, the older you get, it gets shorter. So you might be able to remember 15 numbers, but I can't. So you want to keep it short. Leading zeros, don't put leading zeros in. Again, some people will truncate it. They'll cut off the leading zeros. Excel does it all the time. If a cell is formatted as a number instead of text, it will take those zeros straight off the front. So of course then people see that it's only 14 characters instead of 16, but it doesn't know what those characters are. So again, no leading zeros. And hyphens as delimiters. Use them if you have to have a longer part number, then break it down into short sections with a hyphen. Obviously don't use the some of the sort of Microsoft, you can't use a backslash, forward slash, full stop. Underscore tends to get hidden if it's been underlined in a text document. So the hyphen is a more accurate way of breaking up a part number. So conclusion there, a part number system using 7 or fewer is the best. And I'm not saying that as an amateur, I'm saying that from the likes of Rolls-Royce, who are a customer of ours, British Aerospace, customer of ours, a lot of the medical people. So why shouldn't you do it? You're not exempt. Don't use a supplier's part number. We talked about this right at the beginning. It's tempting because it's easy. Because, like I say, I explained this, the purchasing guy will buy from the cheapest, and therefore then your part numbering system goes out the window. Your bill of materials is wrong. The whole trickle-down effect of changing a manufacturer when you've used their part number is just horrendous, which you guys won't know at this stage because you're doing it yourself. That's the key. When you even slightly get bigger or give that bill of materials to somebody else to deal with, all hell breaks loose, really. Yeah, so that's what I've written there. So what will happen if a supplier changes their part number scheme? So even if you buy it from DigiKey, they might add a suffix on the end, and that messes you up as well. Also, these numbers are often greater than the maximum allowed by hardware and software. Now, the Europlacer can handle 32, but we don't want to. But things like feeders and barcodes and this sort of thing, there's often a 16 character limit back there. So you've then got to decide what to truncate off the end. and you don't want to end up with part numbers that are varying length. So you don't want some part numbers that are 8 characters and some part numbers that are 24 characters and so on, because that just makes formatting cells on Excel spreadsheets difficult. Or for barcode scanning, every barcode that's scanned and understood has to be pre-programmed with what length it's expecting. So if the barcode scanner is programmed with a maximum length of 16 characters and your barcode turns up with 22 characters, it's going to cut the end off. So industry best practice is to use sequential, non-intelligent numbering. And by intelligent is to have something in there that tells you something that nobody else needs to know. You know, like what shelf it's on. That might be useful to you in the beginning, going, those always live on shelf A, number, column B or something. I'll put that in the part number to help my storeman find it. But that's going to run out and get old very quickly. So don't make them intelligent in any way. So again, here we've got, it's easy to allocate the next number, so you don't have to think about it. We've all done that in Excel. We just drag our box down and it gives us a sequential numbering list. It's easy. No special characters. It may not be something you come across here, but regional keyboards. I have a hell of a job with the French keyboard because it's different. Often I can't find the / on a French keyboard. So it's best to avoid it if you can. And I may be saying things here that sound very minor, but actually when you go away and think about it, it sort of makes sense. And if it's good enough for the big boys, it's good enough for me, really. Labels for reels and storage locations, fixed format. And here, as this is what I was saying, variable length, the label format must always be the longest, otherwise you'll lose numbers off the end. Forcing a long part number into a small barcode often gives you resolution issues in there. And that's it.